Games are organised into neat categories that we can all recognise. We give them tags and labels like RPG, shooter, strategy, so we can just sort them out in our heads. And obviously there are no bigger, broader tags than the words indie and AAA, because basically every game fits into one of those categories. But the line between those words is getting more and more blurred, and just how the hell are we supposed to cope when a game changes from one to the other?
We Happy Few is a trippy dystopian sci-fi title which went through Kickstarter as an ambitious little indie project. As developers Compulsion Games put it, it's a game of paranoia and survival in a drugged-out dystopian English city in 1964. It's heavily inspired by dystopian sci-fi like Clockwork Orange and the 1985 movie Brazil. It's been available as an early access title on Steam and things like the Xbox preview program and GOG in development for more than a year for about $30. Compulsion Games are the guys behind 2013's Contrast and describe themselves in their own website as a small studio in a big industry, and as a group of 20 people squatting in an old gramophone factory in St. Henry, Montreal. So they're pretty indie. The game was first revealed back in February 2015, and the crowdfunding campaign, which kicked off a few months later in June that year, raised over 334,000 Canadian dollars. Everything about We Happy Few, from the way it was funded to the guys who were making it and the scope of the game itself, screams indie. And this is where Gearbox come in.
Yeah. Gearbox. Gearbox are the fan favourite video game publishers known for lying about how good their actually shit game Aliens Colonial Marines would be. They gave us the ultra flop that was Duke Nukem Forever. They cancelled an Obsidian RPG set in the Alien universe. Allegedly, they embezzled funds from Sega to fund Borderlands 2, and they partnered with dodgy as key reseller site G2A for their overpriced Bulletstorm re-release. Oh, and they have a walking fan insult Randy Pitchford for a CEO. Those guys, Gearbox, have come aboard to publish this quirky little indie adventure, We Happy Few. Except they're going to do it as a full-fat retail product with a full-fat retail price. It's going to cost $60 for the standard edition, or there's a $150 edition with a load of shite included if you're into that. Oh, and it doesn't include the actual game, obviously.
Otherwise known as TAT, as we like to call it here at Pretty Good Gaming.
This has got to stop. This has to stop.
It's not even an edition of the game, is it? It's not an edition of anything. It's a f***ing toy, is what it is.
Exactly. A series of small shit toys. It's not even one good toy. The one good toy is the game, and that's not in it.
One thing worth having.
That's what we're all here for. The price has risen sharply already for the various early access versions of the game, which did cost $30. They now cost $51 if you want to play the game now. Anyone who backed it on Kickstarter or already got in early at the cheaper price will still get the full thing on release though. So the game's doubled in price and it's getting a physical edition, but is there anything actually good coming out of this?
Well, when We Happy Few launches for PC, PS4 and Xbox One on April the 13th next year, it will be a bigger project than what was first revealed of the game. Compulsion Games said in a long statement that the game's grown from a small roguelite to a full-sized retail game, and the remnants of that little sandbox game at PAX 2015 were slowly overtaken by a much larger story-driven experience. It will have a full-length story with 3 playable characters and more than 250 unique encounters, whatever the f that is. Well, if you're going to leave whatever the f that is, and we're going to ask them for a key, maybe we should rethink that part of the script.
Whatever that is.
The studio saw additional funding based on the positive early reaction they got from fans, and the team has now grown from the roughly 10 it started with to 40. Studio head Guillaume Provost said, "Gearbox believed in us from the very beginning, and we think this partnership will make it possible to create the game that our community expects. Our team was humbled by the initial public reception to We Happy Few and delighted to have this chance to make it bigger." Look, I'm always told it's not about the size of it, size doesn't matter. But that's what my wife says to me. No, I've made that joke
now
far
that that's
too often.
done. So to wrap your head around all this, there's been a big change basically. It's shifted from an indie project to a big AAA project, and you either take it as that or you think that they're selling an indie game for $60, which is probably a little bit harder to swallow. The whole proposition of what We Happy Few is now is very different to what they first thought it was going to be and what all their Kickstarter backers thought it was going to be.
So the whole scope of the game has grown from what was a really small concept of just like a roguelite, as they called it, up into this like huge story-driven game with 3 characters that you can play through now. And somewhere during that process, it changed from an indie game to a AAA game.
Yeah.
So like, where is the boundary? Like, when did it cross that threshold?
Yeah.
When Gearbox were invited, when they decided to release like physical copies of the game, where is that? And when does it deserve to be a $60 game, not a $30 game?
Yeah.
Are Gearbox the right choice? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's another topic. I mean, these are probably one of the most difficult studios to convince your Kickstarter fan base that it's a good idea to get them on board. Like, then be like, hey, look, we're working with Gearbox now. Isn't that great? No.
It doesn't stop there though. We Happy Few will now have a season pass because, well, of course it will. Gearbox are involved. The studio have already addressed any potential fan concerns about this head on, obviously expecting some backlash. They argue that much of their staff will be out of action between the game being content complete and its actual release date. Once work on the game finishes up, we'll have a bit of a rest, and then we'll dive into the wacky world of DLC, they said. They also insisted that their DLC will not be carving out existing content, but creating new content that would otherwise not have been in the full game.
And despite Compulsion Games making an effort to be transparent and honest with everyone, a large part of their community has responded with fierce negativity. Many players are concerned about the involvement of Gearbox and their reputation of employing questionable business practices, let's say, in the publishing of their games. Even some who've already bought the early access edition of the game are losing their minds over the inclusion of a season pass and have accused Compulsion of straight selling out. In the main, though, players seem to be upset over the price increase and saying it's essentially like paying $60 for an indie game. But is it though? Is this still an indie game after so many changes?
$60 for an indie game, just like No Man's Sky, isn't it?
This is what's difficult about this, because it started out as an indie game and it's recognised as an indie game, and many of its fans and its communities are still describing it as an indie game, but it isn't. From anyone looking on the outside in anymore, it's coming out in a box. It's been published by Gearbox. It's $60. It's got a long story campaign and it's got 250 encounters, 250 of them, which is great. It is a AAA game now. It's not an indie game. That's at least what it looks like from the outside, and that's something that a lot of its fans are going to have to deal with now.
So there has been like quite a lot of backlash on some of the discussion pages that we've seen. A lot of fans just not happy with what they've done here. They're doubling the price. As of a couple of days ago, it's gone up to $51 from $30, and they're saying, like, how can you justify that? It's still in early access.
So what else are fans upset about? Well, it's the season pass as well, obviously. The fact there's DLC coming out. This isn't the kind of thing that they were on board for. This isn't what they signed up for. They signed up for an indie roguelite experience, and suddenly they're being sold a season pass, and that's upsetting to a lot of fans. And they're putting the math together. It's $60 for the full game, $40 for the season pass. It's a $100 game suddenly. This is an indie game.
It should be noted that the backers from the original Kickstarter campaign, they get all of the content. So
that's a bit of a goodwill gesture.
Yeah, a bit of a goodwill gesture there. But do you think that the developers should be constrained by their original idea for the game, the scope for the game, and service those original fans and say, right, we've got to produce it as we originally conceived it, and we're not allowed to grow the scope of the game because we owe these original backers what they backed?
Do you execute on that initial vision that you wrote down on your Kickstarter page and made a little trailer for and took to PAX East 2015 for people to try out? Did you stick to that and execute that to the best of your ability, or do you build up on that? And that's the option that they've taken here.
So we want to know what you guys think about this whole situation. Were you invested in We Happy Few? Are you outraged by the fact they've announced this extra content that they're going to be publishing after the fact? Are you upset that they've doubled the price, or seemingly doubled the price for when it comes out? Let us know down in the comments. Could you not be asked either way?
And talking about not being asked either way, let's take a look at some of your comments. Commenting on our Why Is No One Playing Lawbreakers video, Diego Mineiro says, tell us what you think in the comments so we can bitch about your comment and disrespect your opinion in the next video.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we don't have to explain to you why we want you to comment. But that is why.
Night comments on Lawbreakers video. You guys are legend at game vids, but that whistling background tune sounds like a ringtone for wankers. We've thrown that out of our library. We won't be using that again. So rest assured, all of you dozens of people that commented about that stupid cuckoo sound or whatever you were saying, it's gone for now. Anonymous
comments on the split screen video. Games companies realised that split screen makes happiness and not money, so they removed it.
A good developer would figure out how to do both, obviously. Keep us happy and make some money. But if you're a shit developer, you just go for the cash, don't you? On Why Does the Game Industry Keep Getting Sued, LP Alcantara comments, Mike should sue Gareth.
I'm not about to sue Gareth.
I've got it on camera now, so if you ever do want to sue me, you're fucked.
That's not how the law works, is it? And also commenting on why does the games industry keep getting sued. Gizmo D says, hashtag more money for Mike.
Is this about time we finish this video? It's like, can we move on? I think we're in out of time here.
I don't know, I'll find some more comments. Okay guys, so how do you feel about the changes to We Happy Few? Maybe you were an early adopter and you want that initial vision and you're just not getting it anymore. Maybe you're excited about the changes. Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like the video if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this every day. There's another video right there which you can watch right now, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. See you next time.